Good afternoon and welcome to this week's Lunch and Learn, the basics of Google Slides. This is TFL librarian Sharon and I'm so glad you were able to join us today. In today's workshop, we're going to be looking at how we can use Google Slides to create a presentation about a topic you care about. A good digital presentation is going to combine text, images, and design so that we can engage an audience and get them interested in our topic too. When we create a presentation and save it within Google Drive, we have the advantage of being able to access it from anywhere with an internet connection on any device, anywhere in the world. We never have to worry if we're editing the most recent version of our slide deck or if we'll be able to access it from a different computer. Another advantage is that changes are automatically saved and will continue to save each time we make changes, so we don't have to worry about it. So in today's workshop, we're going to be going over how to build a presentation in Google Slides to communicate to an audience about a topic of our choosing. We're going to be going over the basics of starting the Google slide deck, making a few edits, and downloading it if we need it in a separate format. I'm also going to be going over some information at the end of the lesson about where we could find more information and more in-depth looks at Google Slides. Before we really get into Google Slides though, let's take a minute and think about presentations and public speakings more generally. So I'm willing to bet that most, if not all of us, have had to sit through a really boring presentation before. If you've heard a presentation or presentations in your life, you've probably encountered at least one bad one. But what made it boring? Well, there could be a few things that went wrong. Perhaps the presenter wasn't prepared, or maybe it just went on for too long. Now, since most of us get at least a little bit nervous when it comes to making presentations in front of people, being confident in how our slides look can be a really nice and much needed confidence boost. And one way to help us make a good presentation is to provide an audience with visuals while we talk. We want to give them something interesting to look at. A digital slideshow can help us communicate our passion or our interest in a topic, or just help the audience understand what it is that we're talking about. So to get started, we're going to want to sign into our Google account. So we're going to go to google.com and we're going to click sign in if we have not done so already. Signing into our Google account also gives us access to lots of different apps that we can use for both work and personal use. So once we've signed into our Google account, we can click on the Google Apps icon here at the top of the screen. This is our apps icon here. I call it the square of squares or the window pane icon. They call it the apps icon. Once we click there, we're going to see a drop-down menu of all the Google applications that come with our account. And there are, in fact, quite a few. Your most recently used apps are going to appear at the top of the list, while the ones we've never used or rarely use get pushed down towards the bottom. To get started, we're going to click on the Google Drive icon. Google Drive allows us to store, access, and share files like documents, slideshows, forms, and photos all in one place. Instead of being stored on, say, like a computer or a USB, your Google Drive files are stored in the cloud, which is basically a safe place on the internet where you can save important information and access it from anywhere. So on my screen, as it goes through this little animation, you're going to see what the Google Drive looks like. If you've never created anything within Google Drive before, it should be empty, or it might have some instructions like a little getting started guide. If you have created projects before, you're going to see them on your screen. Once we save a file in the Google Drive, we can access it from any computer, smartphone, tablet. As long as it has an internet connection, we are good to go. Files stored in Google Drive won't get lost even if our computer crashes, which is a nice feature. From within the drive, we're going to click on the New button. We see it here near the top left corner of the screen. And we're going to click on the Google Slides option. You notice we also have the option to make Google Sheets or Google Docs, which we've gone over in previous videos. From there, we can have the option of choosing a blank presentation. If you're a really creative person and you want this customized to exactly what you have in your mind, you can start from a completely blank slideshow, or we can choose from a template. If you are, say, doing this at the last minute, which you would never do, starting from a template can be really nice because a lot of the design elements, from the colors to the layout to the font, have already been coordinated for you. There's no going, does this font match this font? It's all set. So I'm going to show you on a live view now how this looks. So here it is on my screen. I've chosen the recipe book template within Google Slides, simply because I liked the colors and the pictures of food. Obviously, there are many more templates available, and you can choose any of them. Now, before we look at actually editing this new presentation, I wanted to draw your attention to the top of the screen where it says last edit, and then a set amount of time when this slideshow was last edited. In my case, it says a couple hours ago because I got this ready in advance. Now, if I hover my cursor over this text, you're going to see the message that says every change you make is automatically saved in Drive. Now, as someone who has lost hours of work thanks to, say, power outages, cats jumping on the keyboard, or just general bad luck, this is probably my favorite feature. We don't have to click a save button. As we make changes, Google Drive automatically updates our file to reflect those changes. Moving beyond the automatic saves, again, my favorite feature, let's take a second and get ourselves oriented. So if you're at all familiar with other presentation programs, such as, say, Microsoft PowerPoint, you're going to already recognize a lot of what we're looking at. In the center of the screen here, we have our slide itself, which I can add text or images to as needed. For example, I could change the title, Feed Your Librarians. I could also add images here if I wanted. Right now it's a fairly simple slide, with a white background and then just this sort of pinkish square. And if I want to make any changes, as you've seen, it's just as simple as clicking where I want to add my own text and start typing. Now, you can also choose from different layouts. For example, this is what they call a title card. It's very simple, very basic. There's not a lot of text here because this is just supposed to be the title of my presentation. But if I click on this layout button at the top of the screen, you'll see that I also have options to, say, use a section header or add more text as needed. So just because the slide deck comes like this in our template does not mean we are bound to it by any means. Now on the left-hand side of the screen, you're going to see our navigation pane. This gives us sort of a bird's eye view of our entire presentation. If I needed to reorder my slides, I could easily do so here simply by dragging the slide I want to move and dropping it in its new placement. For example, I could reorder it like so. So I've moved slide 2 to position 3. I could do this as often or from any order I wish. At the bottom of the screen here, you'll see space to add speaker's notes. These are for you, not for your audience. When you're in presentation mode, which we would start by clicking here on the Start Presentation button, these will not be visible to your audience. If there's a point you really want to make sure you make, or say a quote you want to make sure you get right, you could add those here. It's less obtrusive than, say, holding a stack of cue cards, and you can't mix them up or drop them on the floor. Now at the top of our screen, we're going to see all our options for customizing our slide and making changes. Everything from changing the colors of our text, the size of our text, our font, adding images, adding shapes, and much, much more. Since this is just a really general overview of Google Slides, I'm not going to go into too much detail about any of these options specifically, but there are a couple things I wanted to point out. Under the File tab here in the top left corner of the screen, you'll see that we have the option to download this slide deck from the internet. We also have the option to download it in a variety of formats. So from here, you can see we can download this slide deck as a Microsoft PowerPoint file, as a PDF, whatever we need. So even though we're creating a presentation in Google Slides, we don't have to stick with Google Slides for the duration if, say, the school we're presenting at doesn't have internet access, or if our teacher is requiring that we give them a PowerPoint file. We have a lot of flexibility still. You notice we also have the option right above here to rename our slide deck. This will be the name that we see within Google Drive, and we can make any changes simply by clicking on the title and typing whatever we would like our text to be. And you'll notice here it's saying saved in my drive. As I've been typing, you'll also see that this text here is changing. When we first started, it says last edit was made something like 2 hours ago, and now it's saying all changes saved in Drive. We also would have the option to share this set of slides with other people. If we're working on a presentation with, say, a coworker or a study group, we could share this file with them and they'd be able to make changes as well. If we want them to be able to see our slides but not make any changes, because we have it so beautiful and perfect, we would also be able to limit their access in that way. All right, I know this is a really quick tour of Google Slides, but I do hope you found something useful. If you're interested in learning more about these and other applications, I did want to give you information about where to find more resources for free. So with your Turner Free Library card, you have access to several hundred online classes through the database called Universal Class. You'll find those on our website at turnerfreelibrary.org. So these classes include a variety of topics. I have one open here on my screen. Including this one specifically is an in-depth look at Google Slides itself, but you're also going to find classes on public speaking in general and effective communication. So please do take a look at Universal Class. There's a lot of really cool classes available. They are entirely self-paced, so you can do them at your leisure, and of course they're completely free with your library card. So thank you very much for spending some of your day with me. And on behalf of everyone at the Turner Free Library, I hope you are staying safe and well and that we're going to see you again soon.